Karen, what's the deal with MyWolf?
So tomorrow launches the new performance review period, and it's going to last only 20 days. You know that's not that long.
Right, that's like in a blink, 20 days, 20 business days.
20 business days, 4 Fridays.
Right.
Counting by Fridays.
Absolutely.
And it is the summer.
It is the summer, so that's
yeah.
actually 16 days.
So, and this is really the newest way of doing performance reviews for Bluewolf. It's no longer check the box. It's having a conversation with your manager.
So how do you think it's going to go?
Well, we did do a practice run with the EEPs, and people found that super engaging, and they were able to do it, and we actually had a really good turnout. But like anything new, it's not going to go perfect. We encourage people's feedback. We want to hear what we can do better the next time, and that it really is about the employees and trying to make this experience even better. So best of luck to you in your review.
I can't wait.
Let's hear what we said.
Hey, PAC. Welcome to MyWolf Employee Training for Performance Review Process. I'm so excited that you've joined us today, and I'm excited to share with you that I've got some friends from Global Talent Management on the line with me, too. I have Nilu.
Hi, PAC. Hi, Jen.
Hey. I have David.
Hey, Jen. Hey, PAC.
What's up, David? And I have Karen.
Hey, Jen. Thanks for having me. Good luck, everybody.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go through the agenda, get started. The first thing that we're going to talk through is I am going to talk a little bit about terminology around MyWolf and email notifications that you're going to receive. We'll also do a demo in MyWolf of the performance section. We'll talk through the 6 steps of the Bluewolf review process and questions that your managers answer about you in performance in MyWolf. We'll review your 5-step review process as an employee. We'll talk about the fact that it's the first time in MyWolf and there are some things that you really must know about that. We'll talk through the fact that MyWolf now brings objectivity into the picture with all of the tools and facets that it offers. We'll talk through your immediate next steps as well. A lot of times when we're doing reviews, we talk about the employee review or the self-review or a self-assessment or whatever those words are. The words that are used in MyWolf are called performance self-summary. That's when you are doing a summary of your own performance. And then from the manager's perspective, you know, we may have called it manager review or manager assessment. They will actually be conducting a performance summary about you. So performance summaries are done by managers about their direct reports, and performance self-summaries are what all of us do for ourselves as part of the review process. We review our own performance. Okay, so when we go live on July 23rd, everybody's going to get an email, and it's going to look like it's coming from your boss, from your manager, and it is to alert you to complete your self-summary. Likewise, your manager is going to get an email that prompts your manager that it's time for them to complete a performance summary about you and about each of their direct reports, actually. So when you get that email, it's just a quick and easy access. If you want to just click on the Start This Summary, it will take you immediately to the Performance tab in MyWolf. And I'm in the sandbox here, as you can see, and from my view in the Performance tab, I'm actually a manager in the sandbox, and Carrie LaRoche is my direct report in the sandbox. And so this is what your manager will see, for instance, whenever they open up their Performance tab. You can see that just like other tabs in MyWolf, there's a list view that you can look at what action you need to take immediately. And you can also look back at what some performance summaries that are completed about you. And as a manager, I can also look at my team and others. So right now we're just looking at the action required. And I'm going to go ahead, and since we're talking about the self-summary, right, this is about my own summary, I'm going to click on the self-summary request. And you can see here that the information pulls over and it shows here the name of it. Of course, this isn't a test environment, so this is a test name. That it's due is listed for you so that you are reminded of that. And I want to make sure everybody knows that you are to complete your self-assessment. Everyone is to complete their self-assessment by August 1st. So that's coming up soon, so be ready for that. And here are the questions in your performance form, your self-assessment form. First question is identify your wins as they relate to your performance around goals. And you can see that this is a text box. I'm going to go ahead and scroll just through some of the other questions so you can see the questions first. The second one is identify your learns as they relate to your performance around your annual goals. Number 3, identify your wins pertaining to your engagement at Bluewolf. 4 is identify your learns pertaining to your engagement at Bluewolf. And 5, how would you rate your tracking to annual performance goals? And you can see here now we shift over to a rating scale. We're going to talk about this rating scale just a little bit later about what each of these means. Number 6, how engaged are you with growth at Bluewolf? Number 7 goes back to a text box form. Going forward, what changes would you like to implement so that you can continue to evaluate your performance and engagement at Bluewolf? And then finally, the last question is, a performance review is as much about your performance as it is ours. Are there any obstacles or barriers that are preventing you from having an extraordinary employee experience at Bluewolf? So I'm going to go back up to the top here, and I just want to show you some really cool tools that you can use while you're filling out your performance self-summary. You can see here that in the shadows here, but when I hover over it, it brightens up. It's called the View Recent Work button. This is a very cool button that you can use to pull in supportive materials for the answer that you give in this text box. So if I click on, for instance, View Recent Work, the view changes slightly. You can see that I give the option to close recent work, which indicates I'm going to go back to the form. But the question reappears here at the top, and then some information along the bottom appears. There are a few tabs here. Some of them are familiar names like goals, feedback, thanks, of course, is recognition. And when you click on these tabs, it allows you to review goals and feedback and recognition that the feedback and recognition you've received and the goals that you've set, and you can tie them directly to the content of your response here in question 1. So if, for instance, one of your wins as it related to around your performance annual goals, if you wanted to tie that to a specific goal, one of your responses, you could click on the Goals tab, and then you could choose which goal you want to attach. So you can see I have several in here from testing in the sandbox, but I'm going to choose this one right here. And here's how you add it. If you can see, there are little quotation marks around the different sections of the goal. You can see the top section here is the overview, which is a description of your goal. And then there are details around that, like your metrics and how you're performing. If you wanted to see the full information, you see this little arrow here, you could show more, and you can drop down more information where you can see all of the metrics, all of the metric information. If I wanted to add the details or the metrics, I would click on these quotation marks. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to click on this quotation mark and add the overview or description of my goal into my answer. So if I click on those, it pops up a box that shows me what it will look like, and I say, okay, go ahead and add it. And now, if I look in the question, that reference to that goal is now in this response. So there's no guesswork on your manager's part or on your part when you go back and review maybe a previous assessment, a previous summary, self-summary. You can see exactly what you answered and what you tied it to.
Jen, may I ask a question?
Sure.
What, going on the various tabs, what does current summary and what does past summary mean?
So current summaries are going to be those summaries that are still out there that have not yet been, someone has not clicked submit. So for instance, from your manager's view, when they are doing an assessment of you, they can click on current summaries and they can see if you are in the process of filling out your self-summary, they can see that it's in the current summary section, and they can kind of take a look at what some of your answers are so far while it's in draft form. If you click on past summaries, it shows you past summaries of self-assessments and also of your manager's performance summaries of you. So in this situation, you can see here in the test environment, Karen actually did a test assessment, a test summary for me You can see it says Jennifer Franco's performance summary, and I could go down through this list, and I could pull information, and I could tie it back. You see the quotation marks are here. I could tie it back to my response in the question. So I can even tie back to past summaries to show improvement between the review periods. Great question. Thanks. And just to show you, you can see, I just clicked on thanks, so that you can see you can tie in any recognition, any badges that you've received that are in support of the win that you identified, for instance, for this question of your performance around your annual goal. And then if you click on the feedback tab, I could also select this feedback and tie that in. So let's say I want to do both. I want to align it to the goal. I want to reference a goal, and I want to reference a feedback. So if I click on this double quotation, it shows me a glimpse of what that would look like, and I click Add, and it adds it underneath. So now both of those, both the goal I'm referencing and the feedback that David gave me, is in here. This is the power of this tool. It allows you to fully communicate and document your progress and successes here at Bluewolf. Okay. I'm going to close recent work, and I'm going to go back to the list of items here. So what do you do when you're done, right? So let's say we've gone through this in completion, and we're finished. I just am cleaning that up a little bit, and now we're finished. And let's say we're ready to share it with our manager. When you click this Submit Summary button, that means your self-summary is locked down, and you can't change it anymore. So be sure you're ready to share it. And again, you can come back to it as often as you like by clicking Save Draft.
So Jen, if I make a mistake and I press Submit Summary, I can't go back and change that?
I'm going to say yes, that is an accurate statement. But I will say if it's something that's really detrimental, then I would go ahead and submit an org support ticket through the general support ticket to reach out to our team so that we can talk with you about it one-on-one.
Great,
That's
thank you.
That's a good question. Good question. Okay, so I'm going to assume that I've clicked Submit Summary, and I'm going to go back to our presentation, and let's move on to the next piece. So once you've done your self-summary, and once your manager has done your performance summary, there are a couple more email notifications you get. The first one is an email that is sent to your manager, and that is sent as soon as you click that Submit button. They get an email saying you have completed your self-summary, and it's been shared with them, and they can now read it. Likewise, you will get an email when your manager completes the performance summary about you. It's that simple. So let's talk about the overall Bluewolf review process. It's a 6-step process. The first is that the employee will complete their performance self-summary and click Submit. And just as a reminder, this does lock down your self-summary, and it can no longer be edited. The next step is the manager is notified of completion, and they'll get that email, which I've already showed you, and it gives them a quick link to easily access it and read it. Then the manager is going to complete their performance summary of you. And I want to make sure that you're mindful of this. The first step where you're completing your self-summary and the third step where your manager is completing the performance summary, technically those could happen at the same time, but what we're asking of you in this process is that we're telling everyone in your management that we want your self-summaries completed by August 1st. And then your manager has an opportunity to set up your one-on-one mid-year review and make sure that their performance summary is complete with you before, or about you, before your one-on-one, and everything is to be completed by August 20th. Okay. And the next step in the process is the manager will host that one-on-one performance review. You'll review together goals and metrics and how those metrics align and where they align to. And you'll also review your self-summary and your manager's performance summary about you. And then after your discussion or in the midst of your discussion, your manager can input comments on their performance summary, and then they will click submit, and their performance summary is locked, and the mid-year review process is complete. Okay, so let's look at the questions that managers answer about you when they are doing a performance summary. So here's what they are asked. They are asked to cite examples of your engagement wins. They are asked to cite examples of your engagement learns. They're also asked to cite examples of changes that you could make to further elevate your engagement. They also ask how they would rate your success in tracking to your annual performance goals, and how they would rate your engagement with your growth at Bluewolf.
Hey, Jen, quick question. When managers are filling out the performance summary, can they use the badging that maybe I've gotten or the feedback that I've gotten and use that toward these questions?
Yes, great question. They absolutely can. So just like I showed you in the demonstration, when you're filling out your self-summary, you can attach feedback, badges, goals to your responses to kind of make reference to why you've answered those questions the way you have. The same thing goes for your managers. When they're answering these questions, they can click on that View Recent Work button, and that opens up all those same tabs where they can say, you know, if they're citing an example of maybe one of your wins, they can go in and they can say, you know, I'm going to review Carrie's feedback, or I'm going to review David's feedback while I'm doing his performance summary, and I'm going to check it out and see, because I kind of recall a feedback that came through that speaks specifically to this win I'm talking about. So they can go through and sift through feedback. When they find it, they can hit those double quotation marks and attach it. It's very cool stuff.
Awesome. And Jen, you said that I think I was looking through this earlier, I saw that there's a summary report that you can see regarding just kind of an overview of what the questions were.
Yes, yes. So here's another cool thing. While your manager is filling out their performance summary of you, if you've submitted your self-summary to them, they can click on that Past Summaries tab, and that will show them the answers that you have responded to for your self-summary, and they can see kind of like where you're coming from and how you answered certain questions. They can review that while they're in the process of their own performance summary. If you haven't yet submitted it and they happen to be filling out their performance summary simultaneously, there is a second tab called Current Summaries where it shows what your draft of, you know, kind of where you are at this point. And if you've answered that question, they can see, you know, where you are with it.
Awesome.
You know, this just really enunciates the importance of feedback in MyWolf and badging each other, recognizing each other for extraordinary work. All of that is used in your performance review process, whether it's you completing your self-summary or your manager completing a performance summary about you. All of that content is used to support the responses that are being made about you by your manager and the responses that you're making about yourself in your own self-summary. So it's really cool stuff. So first, we want you to make sure you're watching MyWolf training. Specifically, there are two out there in Bluewolf TV called Are You Ready? And that's Are You Ready for Your Mid-Year Performance Review? And then this particular training that you're watching right now. So if you need to revisit this training, you can as many times as you need to. The next step is to complete your MyWolf prerequisites. There are things that you need to make sure you're getting done in MyWolf prior to your mid-year review and prior to completing your self-summary. Those are making sure your EEP goals are in MyWolf, requesting feedback and offering feedback as is requested of you, and then offering recognition to people and badging folks for extraordinary work that they have done. This all helps, as you can see when we walk through the system, all of that information helps to support your self-summary. Then you're going to want to go ahead and prepare to complete your performance summary. And here's your performance self-summary, and here's what I mean by that. Go in and just check out the accomplishments that you've made. Look at your badges that you've received. Look at the feedback. Review your goals. Make sure you're familiar, really familiar with all of this information. And that helps for the next step, which is to complete your self-summary. And then finally, you'll participate in your one-on-one review with your manager. So as you can see, there are dates for each step as it relates to this mid-year review. So you're going to want to make sure you've watched all of the training as soon as possible. You're going to want to make sure your prereqs, your EEP goals, any badges that you want to give out, and any feedback that you want to request is all done by August 1st. You'll want to make sure that you've prepared to complete your self-summary by August 1st and then get that self-summary done by that same time frame. And then finally, you're going to want to review your performance self-summary and your manager's summary of you by August 20th. Okay, so next, since we are in MyWolf for the first time doing performance reviews, there are just a few things that I want to make sure you know. And that is, the first is about goals. So you've loaded your EEP goals into MyWolf, and the company is loading performance goals into MyWolf for you. And so before your one-on-one review with your manager, you're going to want to just make sure you check those out and review them. Take note of any questions you may have. And then when you have your one-on-one with your manager afterward, you can feel free to edit or add or adjust anything to your goals that might be needed based on your discussion. Also, as it relates to feedback, just make sure, as we learned when we walked through the demonstration, you can attach feedback to your responses in your self-summary. And so take a minute to do that. This is the first time we're able to do that, so don't forget that part. Same with recognition. Don't forget that you can actually tie those badges that you've earned over to responses that you're making in your self-summary to show your manager how, why you've rated yourself the way that you have. And now, as it relates to goals, I just want to make sure that we're all remembering, and there's a video, a training video out there about this. The company uses the framework of SMART goals when we're setting goals, and that is making sure that they are specific and measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely. So when you're reviewing your goals, have that in mind to make sure that all of those components are covered. As it relates to feedback and badges and recognition, I want to point something out. We now have a tool that you can use during reviews, and it shows your manager why you rated yourself in your self-summary the way you did. So basically, MyWolf takes subjectivity out of it and brings in objectivity to the entire review process. It can now be objective. So before I remind you of a few sections where the objectivity is just where it comes through, shining through, I want to talk first about the rating values as you're rating yourself on your review, on your self-summary. You saw some of these words when we were touring the system, we were demoing, and the first one was the rating of disengaged. And I just want to be clear that everybody understands what that means. So this would be related to consistent behavior, such as being disconnected and failing to meet job expectations for your role. Below expectation includes consistent behavior, such as doing activities that are related to your role, but not completing or meeting expected outcomes. Expected performance is behavior, consistent behavior, like completing activities that are associated to your role and absolutely meeting those expectations with consistent success. Then there's engaged achiever. This is consistent behavior that goes above and beyond normal expected performance. This is a PAC member who exudes engagement with other PAC members and clients and is focused on creating those extraordinary moments for clients and fellow team members. And then finally, there's the extraordinary rating. This one is a big deal. Think over the top, think LeBron, okay? Extraordinary would be a person whose behavior shows that they exceed far beyond expectations in their role, that they are contributing to growing the Bluewolf culture, brand, capabilities, and overall business outcomes. If you're rating yourself with a 5, you should have significant feedback and recognition that represents why you rated yourself the way you did, why you gave yourself that 5. And then just as a reminder, you can use feedback and badges you've received in your self-summary to show your manager exactly how you're engaging. We reviewed this when we walked through the system. You can use goals, recognition, and feedback, and you can click the little quotation marks, which you can see down in the right-hand corner, and you can add that information to your response. Okay, we are turning the final corner, and let's talk through your immediate next steps. These will look familiar because your immediate next steps are your exact process through your performance review. First, make sure that you've watched the MyWolf training. Make sure that you've completed your prerequisitions, your prereqs of getting those EEP goals in there and requesting feedback and badging. You'll want to make sure you prepared to complete your self-summary and then went ahead and completed that self-summary and then had your one-on-one review with your manager. And I want to remind you so you don't forget, I said this earlier, I want to make sure we're all clear. Once you click that Submit Summary button, it is locked down. Your self-summary is locked down. So if you need help, of course, you have the Global Talent Management team to help you out in any way. We've uploaded a lot of information to content like tip sheets and training decks. In Bluewolf TV, you will find all recorded training modules. We have a ton of information that we've been chattering about. You can search with keywords such as MyWolf, performance review, and so on. And then finally, if you need help that's technical related, you can use the Report a Bug link that's in the org support box in our sidebar, or you can click the general support box for, the general support link for any other questions that you may have that are not technically related. And that comes to the Global Talent Management team, and we help you right away. That's all I have. Thanks, everybody.